The story begins in Japan, in a busy and restless city filled with lights, traffic, and people moving in every direction. Among them, we see a criminal running desperately through the streets, and police officers are chasing after him. He is sweating, panicking, trying everything to escape. But then, right in the middle of the road, he clutches his chest, his face twists in pain, and he collapses. Within seconds, he is dead, struck down by a sudden heart attack. This is not an isolated event. All across the country, dangerous criminals, people who had escaped justice through money, power, or loopholes in the law, start dying in the same mysterious way. Even in prison cells, they drop dead one after another. The cause, almost always, is heart failure. The police are baffled. The government is alarmed. Something this unnatural cannot be ignored. And while officials try to make sense of it, ordinary citizens begin forming their own theories. Some believe this is divine punishment, that God has descended to deliver justice where the system failed. Others dismiss it as a coincidence, fate, or a strange natural phenomenon. But one thing is clear: someone or something is targeting only criminals. The truth, however, is much darker. These deaths are not accidents. They are the deliberate work of a young man, 𝗦𝗂𝗃𝗲. Light is a brilliant law student, one of the top minds in his university. Outwardly, he is calm, disciplined, and ambitious. But deep inside, he carries frustration with the flaws of the legal system. And everything changes when he finds a strange black notebook. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary journal. Its cover reads just 2 words: Death Note. Curious, Light picks it up. Inside the front cover, he finds a list of rules written in English. The first rule is chilling. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. The rules go on to explain: if you write someone's name in the notebook while picturing their face, that person will die. If no cause of death is specified, they will die of a heart attack. If a cause is written, it will happen exactly as described. Even their actions before death can be controlled, within reason. At first, Light thinks this is some kind of twisted joke, a prank notebook left behind by a student. But the thought lingers in his mind. Could it be real? One evening, while studying in his room, he sees a news report about a criminal holding people hostage. With the notebook in front of him, Light hesitates for a moment, then writes the man's name exactly as it appears on the screen. After finishing, he stares at the page, but nothing happens immediately. Light almost laughs at himself. Of course it's fake, he thinks. But the next day, breaking news appears. The criminal has collapsed and died suddenly from a heart attack. Light freezes. His eyes widen. Still, part of him refuses to believe it. He decides to test the notebook again, this time on someone he knows. He remembers a man at a bar, a loud, violent thug who had humiliated him just days ago. That night, Light goes back, hiding the death note at his side. He writes the man's name, specifying that he will die of a heart attack. Within moments, right before Light's eyes, the man staggers, clutching his chest, gasping for breath. The man collapses and dies instantly. Light is shaken, his hands tremble. This is no trick, no illusion. The death note is real. It has the power to kill. When Light starts going back home, the lights flicker, and suddenly, a monstrous figure appears. A creature with pale skin, twisted features, and piercing eyes. This is Ryuk, the Shinigami, the death god to whom the notebook once belonged. Light recoils at first, startled by the sight. Ryuk is terrifying, his voice deep and mocking. But soon, Ryuk explains the truth. Only the person who owns the death note can see him. No one else in the world can perceive his existence. He did not choose Light, he simply dropped the notebook into the human world out of boredom. Ryuk tells Light that he will not interfere with how the notebook is used. He is neither ally nor enemy, he will only watch. Light listens carefully, his fear slowly transforming into confidence. By now he knows exactly what he intends to do. With the death note in his hand and Ryuk as his silent witness, 𝗦𝗂𝗃𝗲 declares his purpose. He will become the god of a new world, a world free from crime, where only the righteous survive, and Thus, the war between justice and murder quietly begins. In the days that follow, Light tests the notebook again and again. Each time, the result is the same. Names written in its pages are erased from life. Criminals disappear one after another, and Light becomes more certain of his mission. To him, this is fate. He will cleanse the world of evil. The media soon gives a name to the mysterious force behind these deaths. Online forums explode with rumors, and people start whispering a single word: 𝗟𝗲𝗄𝗏. The name comes from the English word killer, and it spreads like wildfire. For some, 𝗟𝗲𝗄𝗏 is a savior, a hero delivering divine justice. For others, he is a murderer, a dangerous figure who must be stopped. As criminals keep dying one after another, the world cannot ignore it anymore. Governments, police forces, and the media are forced to admit that something unnatural is happening. A shadow is silently delivering judgment, and this shadow is known to the world as 𝗟𝗲𝗄𝗏. In Japan, the National Police Agency begins its investigation, but they quickly realize this case is unlike any other. Criminals are dying from heart attacks, not violence, not poison, not anything that leaves a trace. There is no weapon, no physical evidence, no suspect to chase. Whoever 𝗟𝗲𝗄𝗏 is, he has a power beyond human understanding. And then, a new figure enters the story. Someone who will become Light's greatest enemy. A world-famous detective, known only by the letter L, is a mysterious figure. Nobody knows his real name, his face, or even his true location. He only communicates through encrypted computers and an electronic voice. But despite the secrecy, L has solved countless cases that no one else could crack. To the police, he is their last hope against 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏. The Japanese police hesitate at first. Trusting a faceless man with such a dangerous case feels strange, but they have no other option. 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏 is untouchable, and fear is spreading among the officers. Finally, they agree to let L lead the investigation, and so the mind game begins. L appears on a worldwide broadcast, his identity hidden by a letter L on the screen. He directly addresses 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏, speaking in a calm, calculating tone. He says, 𝗟𝗏, I know you are out there. You think you are justice, but you are nothing more than a murderer. Light watches this on television, his expression tightening. No one has ever spoken to him like this. No one has dared challenge him. Then L takes a bold step. He has a prisoner brought into a broadcast studio. The man sits nervously under the spotlight, and L announces, "This man will die if you truly have the power you claim." Light narrows his eyes, anger boiling inside him. Is this detective testing him? He grabs the death note and writes the prisoner's name. Within seconds, the man collapses on live television. The world gasps. But L does not flinch. Instead, he smiles. "So it's true," he says. Then he reveals the trick. The broadcast was not global. It was only aired in one specific region of Japan, the Kanto area. And the man who died was not L at all, but a condemned criminal used as bait. Light's eyes widen. For the first time, someone has outsmarted him. From this moment, Light realizes he cannot underestimate this detective. This is no ordinary opponent. This is someone who sees through deception, someone who will chase him until the end. And so, the game of wits truly begins. Meanwhile, in his private life, Light tries to maintain his image as the perfect student and caring boyfriend. He spends time with his girlfriend, Shiori, and pretends everything is normal. But behind that calm smile, his mind is always racing, always plotting his next move. Light's father, Soichiro Yagami, is also deeply involved in the investigation. He is a senior officer in the National Police, a man of integrity and strong morals. But he has no idea that the very killer he is hunting, 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏, is his own son. This irony weighs heavily over every scene, as Light carefully hides his secret while his father fights desperately to stop him. At the same time, Ryuk, the Shinigami, watches everything with amusement. He finds human behavior entertaining. To him, Light is like a toy, brilliant, ambitious, ruthless, and unpredictable. Ryuk doesn't interfere, but he enjoys the chaos Light creates. As days pass, 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏's killings continue, and fear spreads across the nation. Criminals tremble at the thought of being judged. Citizens debate whether 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗏 is a savior or a tyrant. But one thing is certain, 𝗟𝗲 will not stop until he uncovers the truth. And Light, for all his genius, begins to feel the invisible pressure of being hunted. In the background, another threat is slowly building. 𝗟𝗲 has secretly sent FBI agents to Japan to monitor the families of key police officers, who could have access to investigation details, including Light's. One of these agents, 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, is assigned to watch Light closely. But Light is clever. He notices the man tailing him and immediately forms a plan. One day, Light takes his girlfriend Shiori onto a city bus. As expected, the FBI agent follows and boards the same bus. Light pretends not to notice, but inside, his mind is racing. He wants to know the name of this man and why he's following him. Then, Light's planning strikes. A desperate criminal suddenly hijacks the bus, pointing a gun at the driver and terrifying the passengers. Panic spreads through the bus, but Light stays calm. This is exactly the kind of situation he can twist to his advantage. Light casually drops a torn piece of paper from the death note onto the floor. The criminal picks it up and, without realizing, sees Ryuk, the Shinigami, standing in the bus aisle. His eyes widen in terror, because anyone who touches a page of the death note gains the ability to see its Shinigami. The criminal screams and starts shooting wildly at Ryuk, but of course, the bullets have no effect on the death god. The other passengers scream, the bus swerves, and chaos erupts. Finally, the criminal flees the bus in fear, only to be struck by an oncoming car. He dies instantly, exactly as Light had written in the notebook beforehand. To everyone else, it looks like a bizarre accident. But in truth, Light has just staged the entire event. Afterward, Light approaches 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 directly, pretending to be shaken by the incident. He tells the agent, "If you need something, just ask me directly. Don't follow me around anymore." He presents himself as an innocent young man, clever enough to notice the surveillance, but harmless enough to lower suspicion. But in reality, Light has already begun his counterattack. Days later, 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 is riding a train when Light suddenly stands near him. Calmly, Light starts talking to him through a wireless. Ray is shocked. Light slips him a piece of paper from the death note. At first, Kira threatens him by killing the man sitting next to him. Then, he asks Ray to write down the names of all the other FBI agents currently operating in Japan. When the list is complete, Light smiles faintly. "You've been very helpful," he says. Moments later, 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 clutches his chest and dies of a heart attack. Not only Ray, but every other agent whose name he wrote down also dies the same way. With a single move, Light has eliminated all of 𝗟𝗲's operatives in Japan. News of the FBI agents' deaths shakes the entire police force. Fear spreads among the officers, who now believe that Kira can strike down anyone, even law enforcers. Some detectives resign from the case out of sheer terror. For 𝗟𝗲, however, this is confirmation. Kira is not acting randomly. He is calculating, bold, and absolutely ruthless. And now, 𝗟𝗲 knows one thing for sure. Kira has access to police information, which means Kira must either be a police officer himself or the close relative of one. At this point, suspicion begins to grow heavier around Light Yagami, though there is still no proof. Meanwhile, Ray's fiancée, 𝗦𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲, refuses to accept his mysterious death. Unlike the others, she doesn't retreat in fear. Instead, she quietly begins her own investigation into Kira, determined to uncover the truth and avenge Ray. She is intelligent, calm, and determined. She begins following her instincts, and her investigation leads her straight to Light. 𝗦𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲 manages to meet Shiori, and soon after encounters Light himself. The moment she meets him, she feels an uneasy connection. She doesn't reveal much at first, but Light notices that 𝗦𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲 is sharp and suspicious of him. She reveals that she is investigating her fiancé's death and strongly suspects that Kira is among them. She looks directly at Light and says, "You can't harm me. You don't know my real name?" Light hides his unease behind a calm expression, but inside, he realizes how dangerous 𝗦𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲 could be if she keeps digging deeper. Shiori, however, is left confused and worried by 𝗦𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲's cryptic words. Meanwhile, 𝗟𝗲 takes a bold step. Until now, no one has ever seen his face, but the situation has grown too dangerous. The police demand a real meeting with this mysterious detective. When they finally see him, they are stunned. Instead of an older, experienced officer, 𝗟𝗋 appears as a young man who looks more like a university student than a world-class detective. He sits oddly, barefoot, eating sweets constantly and speaks in a quiet, monotone voice. But behind that strange appearance, his mind is razor-sharp. 𝗟𝗋 explains to the task force that 𝗍𝗲 must be connected to the police somehow. He also says that 𝗍𝗲 seems to be a student, because most of the deaths occur after school hours. He calmly declares, 𝗍𝗲 is in Japan, and 𝗍𝗲 is very close to us. This unsettles Light's father and the rest of the team, but it excites 𝗟𝗋. At the same time, 𝗟𝗋 takes further steps to test his suspicion of Light. He secretly installs hidden cameras and wiretaps inside the Yagami household. Every move Light makes is now under surveillance. But Light is cautious. He realizes immediately that he is being watched. He acts perfectly normal in front of the cameras, studying, eating, sleeping, and going about his day like an ordinary student. He even keeps his death note hidden. For several days, 𝗟𝗋 observes him closely, but Light never slips up. But beneath that calm surface, Light continues killing criminals as if nothing has changed. Even under 𝗟𝗋's constant gaze, 𝗍𝗲's hand never stops writing. One day, a news broadcast reports on another criminal. The task force, still suspicious of Light, watches him closely, expecting he might make a move. But strangely, the criminal dies even though Light never looked at the television. The officers relax a little, thinking their suspicions might have been wrong. Only 𝗟𝗋 remains unconvinced. He knows 𝗍𝗲 is still acting in secret, even under surveillance. Eventually, the hidden cameras in Light's room are removed, and life seems to return to normal. But the danger is far from over. Naomi is still pursuing her own investigation. She contacts 𝗟𝗋, telling him that she is willing to risk her life to prove that Light is 𝗍𝗲. Naomi calls Light to a location where she has Shiori at gunpoint. She demands that Light confess the truth. Shiori struggles, panicked, but Light stays calm, denying everything. In a desperate attempt, Shiori breaks free and tries to escape. Chaos erupts. Naomi pulls the trigger, but the bullet misses Light and strikes Shiori instead. Shiori collapses, fatally wounded. Light rushes to her side, horrified on the surface. But, in truth, he had foreseen this moment. Moments later, Naomi turns the gun on herself and takes her own life. The police, led by 𝗟𝗋, arrive at the scene and witness the aftermath. It looks like a tragic confrontation, an accident born of desperation. But in reality, every detail had already been written by Light in the Death Note. He had discovered Naomi's true name, 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗀, by tracking down her marriage records in a church. From there, he controlled the sequence of events. Shiori's death, Naomi's suicide, and the perfect alibi for himself. Later, Light admits to Ryuk that everything went according to plan. He even used the Death Note to manipulate his own girlfriend's death, coldly sacrificing her to remove suspicion from himself. For Light, this proves his complete transformation, no longer a young man with ideals of justice, but a manipulator willing to kill anyone who threatens his vision. To the outside world, however, Light now appears as a grieving boyfriend and a dutiful son. He even tells his father and the task force that he will join them in their mission to capture 𝗍𝗲. Of course, this is only another layer of his deception, allowing him to remain close to the investigation while continuing his killings in secret. The final scene draws the battle lines clearly. Light and 𝗟𝗋 stand face to face for the first time, two geniuses staring into each other's eyes. Both know the other is their true rival, but neither has proof yet. The war between them is just beginning. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a young woman named Misa is cornered by a criminal. Suddenly, the man collapses and dies of a heart attack. A second Death Note falls to the ground in front of her. The story ends here, with the stage set for the sequel, Death Note, the last name. Light has shown the world that his so-called justice is nothing more than calculated madness. And now, with two Death Notes in play, the psychological war between 𝗍𝗲 and 𝗟𝗋 is about to reach even greater heights. Light begins as a young man chasing justice, but in the end, we see the truth. He isn't a savior. He's a manipulator who sacrifices even the people closest to him to protect his secret. With Misa now entering the picture and another Death Note in play, the mind battle between Light and L is only just beginning. On IMDb, this movie was rated by 33,000 people and has an average rating of 7.5. I hope you enjoyed this video. Share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos like this.